WGPRN, WildGamesProductions.com.
Are you a god?
I am Titanius Englesmith, fancy man of Cornwood.
Then
Buckle your stinkers!
Release the princess or prepare for wizardly combat.
I want to show you a trick Mother showed me when you weren't around.
Welcome to Spellburn, a podcast covering the Dungeon Crawl Classics role-playing game and old-school adventuring. It's time to party like it's 1974. This week on Spellburn, our three judges have burned some luck and gotten off another successful Invoke Patron spell, thereby summoning game designer and author Harley Strode to join us on the podcast this evening and share some of the methods to his game designing madness. I'm Judge Jim, and with me tonight are my two fellow judges, Judge Job.
I'm Judge Job, and I'm not worthy.
And Judge Jeffrey.
Hey, everyone.
Hey, guys. Thanks for having me on. This is a real treat.
Oh, yeah, and we've got the Dark Master's right-hand man, Harley Strode.
It's a privilege to be here. Thank you guys so much for having me.
Harley, I got to ask you, if Joe's good nickname is the Dark Master, what is yours in the company?
I'm the gimpy dwarf that serves the Dark Master. I don't know that I have a nickname. I'll tell you what. Maybe we can leave it up to the listeners to come up with one, and then I'll make a T-shirt for Gen Con that says, whatever that they decide on your guys' forum.
Oh, that'll be awesome.
That could be dangerous, but
I trust that the audience of Spellburn will have a little pity on me. But whatever they come up with, and however you guys want to decide it, either by vote or what have you, I'll make up a T-shirt and I'll wear that.
I think our listeners are worthy of the task, just judging by some of their online sobriquets.
Very cool. Very cool.
Harley, maybe could you just explain who you are to some people that might not know?
Oh, sure. So my name is Harley Strode. I've been writing for Goodman Games for about 6 years now. I've done 40 or so DCCs for Goodman Games, and so I'm one of the primary adventure writers.
Sweet. Okay, and let's take this party into the tavern.
And the first rule of bartending is this: GBTB. Go beyond the book. Go beyond the book.
What do you have? Heineken? Death.
Tavern Talk. So, what did we all do in gaming this past week? Should we start with our guest?
yeah, I think so.
So I've been coming off of a broken arm, so my gaming's been extremely limited. Right now, it's all Gen Con prep, putting together pre-gens and making sure my modules are ready to be run at Gen Con. Yeah, just getting myself prepared for the big event.
Did you catch broken arm disease from DM Glenn at North Texas?
I don't think so, unless he was in the skate park, just before I was.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
How about you, Jeffrey? What have you been up to, gaming-wise?
Let's see. I've got my online gaming group. We're playing DCC. We are still amidst the Falcate Idol, which is the module by Daniel Bishop from Purple Duck Games. It was supposed to just sort of be a side trek, but it's turning into a thing in and of itself. They have awakened something very bad, and it is coming after them, and that is where we left off the last I played with that. So it'll be pretty interesting our next session to see how they tackle that. And then, of course, I've been doing my Swords and Wizardry campaign with the here at the house on the weekend, and that's been going pretty well too. So that's my gaming for the week.
How about you, Mr. Job?
My gaming this week has been pretty similar to Harley's, doing a lot of Gen Con prep. There is a project that I just started working on that will be revealed at Gen Con this year, so I'm looking forward to that.
Awesome.
I'm sure Harley knows what it is. And I'm also working on, I had talked about the GM screen I've been working on. I'm trying to make this kick-ass GM screen for Gen Con. So I've got a little a lesson on using the vinyl cutter at work. I printed out the cover of, I printed out the DCC World Tour RPG like illustration that Doug did. And I tried to convert that over, print it out on vinyl, but it was a little bit too complex. So I'm retooling, and I'm going to have a really kick-ass GM screen at Gen Con this year.
That is so cool. So you have like a vinyl printer and cutter, at essentially like a vinyl plotter at work?
Yeah.
That's so cool.
Yeah, the designer for our entire company works out of our office, so I get to play with all their cool tools.
That's awesome.
I'm not signed up for anything, but I'm sitting here making my little list of whose games I'm going to come crash. So, Job, you just made the list.
I thought it was on the list already.
Oh, Lord. I didn't get to do any gaming this week. Our Dungeon Crawl Classics group is every other week, so we didn't play this past week. Our basic D&D group with the Save or Die crew got canceled because of an anniversary. You know, that's what happens when you're married. You have anniversaries. And the only gaming I got in was Tim Kask, Todd Bunn, and DM Matt from Roll for Initiative all got together at Gateway Games and played the Great Space Race, that Kenzer Company board game. And it was a lot of fun, but it was basically, 3 or 4 hours of Tim yelling at us. Because Tim only yells when he's losing and when he's winning.
So was he losing or winning this time?
He was pulling up the rear this time, so he was not too happy camper. Well, that'll wrap it up for Tavern Talk. Let's summon some emails.
You've got mail. Message for you, son.
Summon email.
Okay, well, we got emails. People are writing the show.
Yeah, we definitely had a lot of emails again this time, so it's a good thing to see.
So thanks for writing in. We'll give the email address out at the end. Who wants to get the very first email?
I can do the first one. The first one is from DCC Fan. He writes, "Great podcast, guys. Have you ever judged a spell duel in a game, and did it flow well? I've only read through the section of the rules once, but to me it sounded like a duel would grind the game to a stop. What are your thoughts?"
That's a good question. Is that Harley laughing?
Yeah, that's me.
Harley? What are your thoughts?
No, I remember we were sitting at GaryCon with Adams, from Brave Halfling, and it was Doug Kovacs, Joseph, and I, and we banged out the rules in an afternoon. It doesn't have to grind to a halt, but it does require the judge. Well, it's helpful if the judge, just a brief period of time, takes on actively the role of the opponent's spellcaster and is really playing that character, so steps out of the neutral role. And if you have the two opponents, working and they both have a rough understanding of how it works, it goes down really quickly. It's like everything else in DCC. The tables are daunting until you realize that, I make 1, maybe 2 rolls if it's a critical hit or something, and then all of a sudden I'm led through the flowchart to the resolution. But I can definitely see how from the outside, not having participated in it, you look at it and you're like, this is nonsense. I'm never going to use this in a game. But if you get the chance, it's super fun, and it's a nice opportunity for a wizard or an elf to have the spotlight for a brief period of time.
What do you guys think? You run games. Have you had a spell duel yet?
I still have not run a spell duel. That was one of the things that we looked at for the Advanced Magic System show that'll happen sometime in the future. Mm-hmm. How about you, Jeffrey?
I have not run one, actually. I've read through the rules, but I have not had the opportunity to run one. I've got several casters in my party. In fact, one I've got in mind, and I'm sure he knows who he is. Be a great one to run against. I'm sure I could come up with some great reason to run a spell duel against him. But I have not run one yet.
Episode that you guys do. Maybe you guys host a spell duel online so everyone can see how it plays out.
Yeah, we
You know,
could do that. I'd be
think-
interested to see how it plays because when it came up, Castor and a Michael Curtis adventure at a convention, we just did it old school AD&D style, and Mike just didn't use the spell duel rules. It was all initiative and me and this evil cleric.
That's pretty fun. Yeah.
And we took him down. No, but I'd love to try it because it's kind of like spell chess. So the other players just sort of, it's like a gladiator match. You could get the other players to kind of cheer from the seats.
There is like it slows down for a little bit, but it's not, it doesn't grind to a halt at all. Yeah, the wizard has maybe 2 or 3 extra rolls, but it's a neat opportunity given that it comes up pretty rarely. It's pretty fun.
Well, I'm dying to try it, but DCC fan, thanks for writing, and it's your campaign and your game. Try it both ways. That's the easy way to answer any question like that. It's just try it both ways and see what works for your group.
Excellent.
Okay, I'll jump in and get the next one. This is from he gave us pronunciation guides this time. This is from Robert Tingelin. Thanks, Robert, for tipping the dyslexic off on how to pronounce your name. Robert says, hey guys, talk about quick service. The Mighty Deeds podcast was great, and the blank deed sheet is genius. That's all you, Job. I plan to use them in my next session. Some questions and comments about luck this week. Someone in the podcast mentioned that luck bonuses change when a character's luck changes. I thought that the bonus didn't change when characters gain or lose points of their luck stat. Let's stop and answer that question before I do the second one. Let's clear that up for Robert.
I only apply that to the boon. Everything else, I let the luck change. So
I think that's what we said on the show was that your birth augur your lucky sign roll didn't change if your luck went up and down.
So if you've got a +1 on the spell checks, I don't change that if the luck changes. But if your luck changes and now I'm asking you to make a luck check or something like that, then the modifier applies. That's how I've been playing it.
Yeah, that's exactly how I run it too.
I think a couple of the classes, it specifically says, the ones that use some of the luck bonuses or luck modifiers, it specifically says this does not change, when luck changes.
So in those cases, you would know it didn't change, but in all other cases, it would.
Right.
Sweet. Okay, and Robert's second question is also, how do you all roll for recovering the body? The beta rules have it as a difficulty check, but the published rules are a roll under stat. I prefer the difficulty check since it would discourage players burning luck if they have to roll under, and I don't want to have a low chance of survival. I'm interested in your opinions. Thanks, and keep up the great work, Robert. Tingelin. So what do you guys think?
On that one, for the roll the body, I always do roll under your luck score. Is how I do it.
I run it the same way. So if you've burned luck up until that point, Conan may not be lucky that week, and the body may not be recovered.
And that's what I like about it is because it is something that when you burn that luck, if you need that luck to recover the body, just to me the way those two tie in together, it's just I don't know. I like that mechanic.
You can't have it both ways.
Exactly. Yeah. So I roll under.
Yeah, I've done it the same way. I thought it was in the rule book that way, but maybe I'm wrong.
Who was it that came up with the variable recovery? Was that John Marr? Do you guys remember seeing that on G+?
I remember seeing it on G+. I can't remember who.
Shoot, I need to dig that up. So instead of a binary yes no, there was a scaling.
Yes.
Depending on how much you had made the check by, that determined what your body condition was. Was pretty sweet.
Yeah, I don't think it was John Marr, but it was someone on the group, and I saw that, and I did think that was a pretty interesting way to do it too. That variableness to it.
Those
We've killed crap tons of characters in our group and had pretty good luck with rolling them and bringing them back, but we've got a cleric whose ability scores are not looking so hot anymore.
Yeah.
Okay. Hey, Kevin. Anyway, you want to get the next email, Joe?
Yeah, sounds good. Hello from Cincinnati. Love the podcast, and listening has helped me as a player understand the system in a way that helps immensely. As one of the players with Jim on our bi-weekly DCC home game over at Gateway Games, I've enjoyed hearing of our exploits after the game. I like the format and tips and tricks, and even if Marcos has started using them against us. I'm playing a dwarf, which is pretty awesome, but was wondering if y'all had any ideas on shield-specific mighty deeds. I've killed several baddies just with the shield, but I'm drawing a blank on cool shield deeds. I've used it to smash the jaw and attempted to smash the feet, but what other cool ideas would make sense? Okay. Well, right off the bat, man, I'm thinking, Captain America, fling that shield.
Absolutely.
Dude, that's the first thing that hit in my head. Get a round shield and start bouncing it off people's heads.
Yeah, watch some Avengers and come back and just be, Dwarf the Almighty.
Well, you can also pimp out your shield, and in fact, in the core book, under the dwarf section, it says shield bash does 1d3, but there's nothing stopping a shield from. There's nothing stopping a dwarf from affixing spikes or.
Oh, and blades. Absolutely. Yeah.
Chainsaw blades whirling in the middle. I don't know.
Yeah, some nice spikes on the shield, and the mighty deed could be I spike the guy and heave him over my head and go to the next guy.
Let's see. What else could you do with a shield?
My guy, dwarf in my party likes to knock him prone. He likes to walk up and bash him hard enough to try to knock him prone or something like that. So he likes to do the whole knock him prone thing with it.
Yeah, you could rip off, the Lord of the Rings movie, and then, your dwarf could ride the shield, down the staircase through a mob of charging beastmen or something. Say what else?
I was thinking that too. Maybe mowing a path through a mob or something.
Exactly. Yeah.
Or just hook the guy's belt and drop his pants in the middle of battle. That's just as good as prone.
It's better than prone.
Ooh, how about poison spikes?
There you go. Yeah, little known cavernous mushrooms, that are smeared all over that dwarf's disgusting shield.
Or a cleft in the shield that you disarm opponents with.
Ooh,
that's nice.
That's super cool, actually. Huh. Yeah, so you could disarm opponents. You could do like a sword breaker move.
Ooh, that's nice.
Those are good ideas. Welcome to Spellburn, where we put our guests straight to work.
And I know I'm pimping the system, but that's one of the things that I really love about the game is that if we were trying to design this for 3.5, it would be broken 7 ways from Sunday, and that's more my weakness as a designer than anything else. But sitting down talking with you guys for 5 minutes, we can come up with something that's super cool for a dwarf. You may never see it again. This dwarf is going to die next week, and but there's not going to be a sword breaker shield feat 2 steps down the chain that's that he has to build towards. We're coming at, we imagine stuff, we come up with it, and then we play it, and if it's fun, it sticks around.
Okay, so the email continues, and if I neglected to mention at the beginning, it's this is from Will Smith in Cincinnati. Also, my son Micah, that's my brother's name, recently tried to tackle a Portuguese man-of-war while swimming in the ocean. He learned a lesson: don't touch the shiny object before checking. But I wanted to think of a cool way to place a man-of-war in DCC. I thought of several, like a spectral man-of-war trapped room, but I've not tried converting a spec monster into a man-of-war. What suggestions do you all have for this idea?
Use the undead tables, special traits. Done.
Nice.
Yeah, I think that'd be pretty cool.
What do you think, Harley?
No, I think that sounds super fun. So yeah, what else could you do with it though? Well, you have all those dangly tentacle bits. If each tentacle has a different effect, sort of like the beholder's eye, but the inverse, because it's swinging its tentacle and things.
Oh, that's sweet.
And so you have a 1d8 table or something with different effects, right? One's paralyzed and one's petrified, and anyway. So on a successful hit, the judge gets to roll 1d12 and find has a little bit of a surprise as to what that tentacle is doing to the PC.
The Beholder of War. That's awesome.
That's great.
Okay, so really quickly, and I know I'm interrupting at the exact wrong time, but it was Jim Scatch, not John Marr, who came up with the variable body recovery table.
That's cool, and it was a cool chart. Now it's out of the Google Plus DCC community group, right?
Yeah. Look for July 17th. My apologies, Jim.
We'll make sure and put a link to it on the post when the podcast goes up.
Awesome. Thank you.
Okay, so Wells closes out the email. Again, I love the show, and my son loves playing with Jim at the home game and is stoked about being internet famous. Kudos to y'all, and keep up the good work. Looking forward to your answers. Well, that's a great email. Thanks a lot, Will. And hi, Micah. You're famous now.
Dude, I got his age wrong the first time I talked about him on the show because I said he was 12 when he's 9. He is the smartest genius-level 9-year-old you ever want to meet, and he's just hard, two-fisted old-school gamer at 9 years old.
That's awesome.
I mean, his first words out of his mouth are either "I kill it" or "Let's loot the body."
Awesome.
He's learned well.
Yeah, bringing him up right.
Okay, looks like we got one last email.
Okay, I can take this one. And this one comes to us from Microbius Minifingers. I probably mess up the first name, but Minifingers works. Love the show, guys. I just enjoyed episode 5 on magic. I noted that you rolled for all of the mercurial magic effects right away when picking out a character's spells. I might suggest waiting and rolling that effect during gameplay when the player is in an encounter. They've just learned the spell. This is the first time they're trying to use it. Who knows what will happen? Mercurial magic can have a surprising combination with foes, terrain, or other challenges. It's fun to see it go off when the chips are on the line. Keep up the great work. I love this game too. Minifingers.
I could see doing that if it was in the course of a game and the player just got his hands on the spell and, runs to cast it right away.
Yeah, I agree. I mean, plus I think it would kind of slow down the gameplay, especially if you rolled high and you had, multiple rolls on the table. And I don't know, I think it would bog it down. Now, the manifestations, I have rolled those and for a long time was rolling those during gameplay, and it didn't really slow the game down too much. But I'm not sure that I would do it that way. More power to it if you want to run your game that way, though.
I haven't done it that way, but I can certainly see where some groups would think that's fun. I mean, I can you get the one that it kills someone that could be fun, and that could be fun to learn on the fly.
Okay, so the judges are all going, yes, by all means, do that.
And the players are screaming, no.
I just don't know that it makes any sense. If you're supposedly an intelligent individual, you've learned these spells, you've cast them at least once, sometime, somewhere, as part of your research.
But it's different when it's under stress, right? I mean, we all know how to perform the Heimlich, but when I perform the Heimlich on Job at Gen Con, there's going to be a mercurial magic effect that I wasn't anticipating.
Well, I heard you're a sleepwalker, so I hope you don't do the Heimlich in your sleep or something.
Exactly.
Are you guys roommates?
Oh, yeah. Looking forward to it.
So I know whose door to knock on at 10 tonight.
Yeah, Jeffrey's.
Okay, well, that's going to wrap it up for email. Let's go to our guest interview segment, Invoke Patron.
I sent my elf spies to find out what was happening.
If I were creating a world, I wouldn't mess about with butterflies and daffodils. I would have started with lasers. 8 o'clock, day 1. Sorry.
Well, Harley, there's the usual business we have to get out of the way up front, which is thank you for being on, and we're not worthy. We're not worthy.
Oh, please. No.
Yeah, definitely appreciate your time.
Oh, my pleasure. It's a great privilege, and you guys do an awesome job. So you're just making me look good.
I can tell you it's a small point of contention between me and Michael Curtis that I like one of your adventures best of all the Dungeon Crawl Classics adventures.
Fair enough.
Or which one is it, Jim?
Oh, come on, we can guess this.
I'm going to save it for that section of the show. I mean,
I forgot about that.
I mean, plus there's gazillions of them. I like Mike's too. I mean, there's one of his that would probably be my number 2. They're all great, but oh my God, Harley. You and Michael share something in common in your adventures where you will write an adventure. I'm thinking of, in Michael's case, Emrakul was framed, and in your case, Colossus Arise. In both those adventures, you slug your way through the whole adventure, and by the time you're at the end, you're like, this is great. This is a 10 out of 10 adventure. And then you hit the last thing, and it gets jacked to, level 11.
Yeah.
Okay, well, Harley, we were kind of interested, and we've gotten feedback from some people emailing in. How did you get started with Goodman Games?
Sure. I just dropped out of a PhD program to follow a girl to the East Coast, who's now my wife. This is, 2004, 2005. And so I had lost my regular gaming group, and we had been gaming together all through, bachelor's and then our master's programs. But suddenly I was bereft of any gamers, and I was living vicariously through my old friends. They were running games for new friends and that sort of thing. And so I wrote what would become Legacy of the Savage Kings, DCC 17, for one of my friends, and I sent it off to him, and he ended up running it for his group and blah blah blah. But right about that same time, I was wandering through a gaming store, and I saw this adventure module, called, it was one of the Dungeon Crawl Classics. I think it was DCC 14, and I flipped it open, and I saw the blue line maps, And immediately I was filled with like envy, because it was like, this is what I've been wanting to do my entire life, and somebody pulled this off. This is incredible. And so I snatched it right up, and went home that night, and I was just amazed. Like, somebody was making an adventure module that I would want to play, that I wanted to write. And so I looked in the back, and I fired off this completely half-baked, unedited manuscript to Joseph Goodman. But for whatever reasons, I made my luck roll that day. He received it on his birthday, took a look at it, made some excellent corrections and development notes, and then that went on to be DCC 17. And I've been writing for Joseph and ever since.
So you didn't even pitch it? You just sent him the entire finished manuscript?
That's a good question. I should go back to look at the email. I may have sent him the entire. I suspect it was like a 500-word synopsis, and with the manuscript as an attachment, because at the time it was before he had submission guidelines up. And and I had it was an ugly piece of work. I had laid it out all myself with with art I was cribbing from the internet. It was terrible, but Joseph was able to see past that. And
so what you're saying to the kids at home is that entranceway to Castle Goodman is now locked and shuttered.
Yeah, probably because the barbarians stumbled through and he destroyed the doors on the way past. We've fortunately, for better or worse, we've come a long way since then. To the point where now there's there are standards. You have to know the rules before you submit something. But yeah. So that my first DCC had. I was telling you guys this earlier. It had that image by Doug Kovacs of Torgo the Eye Gouger.
A puppy face kobold, which is the right and proper kind of kobold.
Which you guys need to check with Doug, but I think that may have been his very first illustration for Goodman Games. And so, there we are, Doug Kovacs and I coming on at the same time in the same adventure. And, here we are now, nearly 6, 7, 8 years later, still working with Joseph.
Well, that's quite a few stars that lined up there. I mean, so both you and Doug were already in place when Joseph decided to create the Dungeon Crawl Classics role-playing game.
Oh yeah, absolutely. Before the show tonight, I was scrolling through some of my old emails from Joseph back in 2010, and I don't know if you guys have time for this story, but it's neat to look back and see how much of the DNA of the DCC RPG was existed in various permutations throughout our different product lines.
Oh yeah, in those old modules, it's definitely there.
Yeah, you look at, well, let's see. Obviously we have Michael Curtis and what they did with the layout and the really dense, beautiful art of Dungeon Alphabet, which then directly fed what Joseph's vision of the DCC RPG was going to be. But I remember back in, I think it must have been like Gen Con 2008, 4th edition had just come out, and and I had published maybe 20 adventures or 20 or 30 adventures by that point. I remember talking to Joseph. We always have meetings at Gen Con because we live all over the world, and so we get together at Gen Con. And I remember talking to the guys and saying, we need to look past, the TSR adventures. We can't be inspired by Gygax and Arneson and all the brilliant writers that came before us. We need to look back and see what inspired them, and use that to inform our writing. And I didn't use the words Appendix N, because at the same time, Doug Kovacs is incessantly teasing Joseph about not having read Appendix N, not knowing about Fafford and Grey Mouser firsthand. So Joseph takes this input and he goes away and he makes it his mission to read every single book and author in Appendix N, and comes back inspired. And in the course of 2, maybe 3 months, writes 3/4 of the rules of the DCC RPG, meaning not the spell results, but the actual the core mechanics and all that. Yeah, it was neat to watch Joseph on fire when he was just cranking this stuff out week after week.
That's great about the Appendix N stuff. I just assumed Joseph was well versed in that all along.
I think we all did, but it was Doug that wouldn't let him live it down.
That's funny.
Yeah,
So
that's sort of funny. The strong basis in Appendix N. I thought the same thing. I just figured he was well based in it, and that had inspired the whole DCC RPG line, like before the role playing game. That's awesome.
We all need a friend like that just comes up and says, "What? You've never read Jack Vance?" and kicks you in the ass. That's what you do.
Well, Doug Kovacs is definitely the ass kicker of Goodman Games for sure.
So as far as the core rulebook goes, Harley, what stuff did you produce yourself, I guess?
Oh golly, I mean, at this point I'm culpable though. I was responsible for the critical hit tables. Some of the patrons, please forgive me. What else in here?
Oh, those patrons are all thoroughly evil. Well, job well done.
Well, yeah, but and Job can attest. Well, all you guys, anyone who's tried to write a patron knows that that is a lot of work. There was some point. At one point, Joseph assigned me 4 patrons, and it must have taken me a month. Between the specific results of the patron spell, and then the patron corruptions, and each of them coming with 1 or 2 spells of their own.
Yeah, this is not your daddy's deities and demigods entry.
I'm glad to hear you say that, because I wrote up one on Purple Sorcerer, and I think I came in just a touch under 4,000 words for that thing, and I'm like, wow, this is there's a lot of stuff to build one of these patrons up.
Oh yeah. I have so much respect for and forgive me for the titles escaping me. It's Angels, Daemons, and the patron book that they did.
Yes, I know which one you're talking about. I always forget that same last one.
Yeah, but the Angel or the third party patron book. I mean that is a work of love, because those things, they do not come easily, not at all.
Isn't it like angels, demons, and beings in between, or something like that?
I think that's it. Let's
we'll have to put it in the show notes.
I do think that's it, though, Job. I think that's it. And I know exactly what you're talking about. I always forget that last third piece of it.
We'll put it in the show notes, and we can fix that in post. Our 2 catchphrases for "We're old and slow now."
Yes.
It's starting to slow down a little, us gamers.
Did you do the spell duels too, Harley?
I sat there. It was mostly Joseph working out with John Adams and Doug and myself. So yeah, I was involved in it. Mostly, I was dueling against Joseph and losing all the time. We were at Gary Con, a few years ago, trying to figure something out. And it was Doug that came up with the phlogiston results, and think about the phlogiston was his catchphrase for the rest of the show.
Would you be interested in judging a one-off spell duel sometime in your spare time at Gen Con? Because Michael Curtis has been talking some smack to me about how well he can run a wizard.
I think it would be awesome. Let's do that. So we should get Michael Curtis and he and I will have a spell duel on Spellburn, and you guys can decide whether or not the system's broken or not.
There we go. I think that's it. That's a show.
Sounds good to me.
That's a whole show right there. We won't even do any emails that show.
Nope.
All right, so it was Angels, Daemons, and Beings Between by Dragon Hordes Publishing, and that's Paul Wolf, Daniel Bishop, and I'm sure there may have been other folks involved, but
yeah, and that is a good book if you're looking for more patrons. That's definitely a good one to pick up.
What a lot of work, yeah.
To my shame, I haven't gotten it yet, but I'll have to.
So Harley, I got sick of counting. How many modules have you written for Goodman Games?
That's a great question. It's probably somewhere around the 40 mark.
I'm looking at my shelf right here, and I'm going about 4 inches worth.
But that's including the one for Age of Cthulhu. Strictly fantasy RPG. Probably 35 or so.
So many you've lost count.
Well, I count myself very fortunate. I've been really lucky, and it's been a great ride. And how lucky was I that I sent it off to Joseph Goodman of Goodman Games and not some other fly-by-night third-party publisher at the time, where it may have been published and then sank into obscurity.
Because they are out there.
Yeah, and you guys remember the time with the Glut. I mean, the D20 boom. There was a lot of them out there.
Oh yeah, not a lot of those are around today, or at least certainly not in the same form they were several years ago.
Exactly.
The Elephant Graveyard for the period you're talking about is basically one whole shelf at half-price books.
Yeah.
That's where those all ended up.
Well, and I'm sure a lot of my work is somewhere half priced or 25 cents for an adventure tube. But yeah, I count myself very fortunate.
Well, let's try and drill down to some specifics on your works for Dungeon Crawl Classics role-playing game. Until last week, the most recent module that came out was yours, Colossus Arise.
Yep.
So I understand that was a bit of a difficult process, although that obviously didn't. When we played it, we just thought it was rip-roaring fun with a bunch of giants.
That really warms my heart. I'm glad it came out well on the table, because it was there were a lot of things going on in life at that time. The intro says it all. I was in a car accident, which was the house caught fire at the same time. A week earlier, we had managed to flood the house while doing home repairs. I must have lost like 3 hard drives. So,
Are there any locusts in there?
Oh, exactly right. The frogs rained down from the sky. It was an ordeal, and and it's a testament to Joseph Goodman and Goodman Games that they were very patient with each new test. As I was like, this adventure exists. Give me another week and I'll get it to you. So, yeah.
I got a question to ask you because at least 2 of your modules for Dungeon Crawl Classics involve giants. Are you sort of consciously doing a little giant series of your own?
Oh, in my heart of hearts, I love the G series, and so, while DCC RPG will never, really have an homage to the G series, it's always in the background, like, there's something wonderful and very appendix in about the warrior striding out, and then this 14, 16, 18 foot tall beast thunders forward, and that's that's you can see Frazetta painting that. That's Appendix N at its finest.
Or in the case of your work, 300 of them.
Well, it's 8th level. I mean, the spell results at that point get insane. Like we did a play test for Colossus, and it may have been one of your guys actually, but like the casters went in and they decided, enough of this. We're gonna cast Earthquake. We're not even gonna go into the dungeon. We're gonna cast Earthquake. We're gonna collapse everything, and we're gonna solve this thing in the first 5 minutes. And sure enough, a caster at that point can rolling a 30 as a total for the spell burn is not out of the realm of possibility.
That was not our group. Rick Hall was our playtest judge, and we had to all but kill a couple of our playtest players to keep them from charging to 300 giants, but we managed to sneak in and do what you're supposed to do.
Nice.
We had a couple who wanted to do that.
So we, Harley, we've often talked about Sailors on the Starless Sea, and I was just wondering, what was the inspiration behind the Beastmen?
And by talk about, we've cited it as the single best beginning adventure ever of all time.
You guys are sweet. Well, so you've also read how it was written before a lot of the rules were fully formed, and so I appreciate that everybody loves it. And I also look back and it's like, boy, it's not quite everything the DCC RPG needs to be. It's more of almost a transition module between the first 10 pages of it.
But just because it doesn't have a dinosaur or a time traveler in it?
Fair enough. Yeah. Also, what was the inspiration for the Beastmen? That's an excellent question. It was Adam. I'm not even going to try to say his last name because I'm going to murder it. But he had done a study on the evolution of Beastmen and various gaming sources, and I think I had a catalog as a young gamer living out in the middle of nowhere, Colorado, that had some pen and ink illustrations of Beastmen. It had been handed down to me by my babysitter or something. Those illustrations that always live so fully in my mind. You have the typical the Minotaur heads, but then you start to branch away from that, and they get really fun and hopefully a little disturbing, depending on how the table works out. But that for my 8-year-old self, seeing those pen and ink illustrations, I think that's been with me for a long time.
The reaction at our table in our group as we were going through that funnel was very interesting because the old grognards like me that played a lot of Gamma World, we didn't bat an eye. We were just counting heads and trying to figure out hit points and armor class. But the Pathfinder players just came unraveled. They're like, wait, what's its head? And the other one's different?
Right, absolutely.
Yeah, I sort of fell into the Pathfinder category when we first played that because it was my transition module to DCC for the most part. It's the first thing I played online. Someone was running it, and we met those things, and I'm just like, oh man, this is not going to go well. It was pretty cool. It was definitely I think you stated it right. It's a great transition module for taking you if you've been playing, something more D20 oriented, previously. Transitions really well into DCC, I think.
Well, I appreciate that.
We all piled on that shaman beast, man, like nobody's business, even though because we didn't know he didn't have any spells.
I heard that in the previous podcast. That was pretty funny. The next shaman will have a ton of spells. Don't worry about it. Yeah.
Great.
Thanks, Jim.
Just doing my job. I've got the sort of question that I know listeners are going to want to know. If there are listeners to the show that want to write adventures, not specifically to pitch to Goodman or specifically to pitch to anybody, but just for their home campaigns and in general, what are some of your key design decisions to make adventures that don't suck?
Ooh. So we've hosted that seminar at Gen Con a couple of years. It's been a while now since we've done it, and I guess if you think to the climax of Sailors. That works so well because we need to remember as judges that we don't have a special effects budget. Like there is no reason the ceiling can't collapse and an enormous tidal wave carries us away or the spell goes awry with a fumble and transports you to another planet. I mean, I would just encourage judges and DMs to let their imaginations go wild and not be bound by adventures, that they've read in the past. You don't need to write like Harley Strode. There's a judge out there with a brilliant idea that only he can come up with and that will exist only in his games. And that's the adventure that he needs to run. The stuff that excites him that, none of the rest of us have access to. That's really cool.
Yeah, you can't go far wrong if you stick to something you're personally passionate about, if it's a favorite TV show or a favorite novel.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. One of the things that, and this isn't directly related to the question, but when I was early on when I was working for Goodman Games, I always tried to make the maps as evocative as possible, even though they were blue line maps at the time, just because I knew if I could get the DM to fall in love with the adventure, that DM would then run an awesome adventure for the players. And so there's so much of the delivery, both in the text but also in the in maps. Hopefully DM somewhere is he's 12 years old, he or she is flipping open these books, sees maps that just fire up their imagination, and that child's imagination is way cooler than anything that the module could deliver. But based upon that child, or be he 10 or be he 95, is going to run an awesome game because he's fired up about it.
I know that I've heard people with bad reactions to Doug Kovac's mapping style in the modules, and I just frankly don't understand the pushback at all, because that's the whole charm of the system and the game to me, is those maps that look like player characters sat down and drew them and did little illustrated cartouches. Don't go here.
I guess I can honor that reaction. I don't know specifically any of the complaints, but I had a period of time where I was looking at the maps, and it was right when we were transitioning. We were trying to figure out, all right, what are we going to do to make DCC RPG special? And Doug's like, I'm going to do these awesome maps, and I'm looking at this map, and it's just visually dense. And there was a moment, and Doug could dig out the emails where I was like, Doug, this is too much. You have to halftone these. It's not delivering the information in a way that the judge can use. And then, and so it was probably about a week's worth of time that Doug and I were going back and forth about the maps, and I was advocating for simpler maps that delivered the information more efficiently. And it was Doug that was like, no, this is a work of art. You study it, you sit down, you soak it in, and you look at it for the fifth time, and you notice in the right hand corner he's left a little clue about thing X, and what can look like arbitrary illustrations. He puts a ton of work in. Every little bit of his maps are specific to that adventure and convey a bit of meaning.
The only thing more gorgeous than the maps as published are his pencil sketches preparing for the maps.
I love his pencil sketches. I love his we need to create a chapbook just of his pencil sketchings. They're gorgeous. He's sent me a couple that I have hanging on my wall, and they're some of my favorite works of art.
Nice.
Yeah, that'd be awesome.
I really enjoy his maps, especially because, once you learn a module pretty well, there's enough visual information on the map that you don't have to flip through the book. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like you can just play it off the cuff, look at the map, and run the adventure.
Yeah, I would say the one downfall of some of the isometric maps I've been drawing, though, is that they don't translate to Roll20 very well. I've run a couple, maybe half a dozen games on Roll20 now, wanting to use those maps, and it's not super effective, I should say.
And for people who haven't heard of Roll20, it's an online tabletop for running games at roll20.net, I believe.
I never thought of that. I was a big Ultima Online player back in the day, and the view in the game was isomorphic, but because of that, the perspective was its own particular two-point perspective, which obviously flat maps can't be.
Right.
And I run pretty much all my weekly games on Roll20, and I mean it's been workable with some of the isometric maps to do. You just have to be a little more careful when you reveal the Fog of War, and sometimes secret areas. The secret areas can be a little bit more difficult, but sometimes I'll even tweak them a bit and GIMP or something like that just to help out a bit. But I mean, they've been workable. I would certainly take the trade-off with the. I just love the map style. So, the only thing I regret is that I have to remember to reveal more Fog of War so people that are playing can see some of the cool artwork as we cross through different pieces. And reveal extra so they can see it. Otherwise, it's like, you got to see this map. Let me reveal a little more.
That's really cool.
I can tell you as an artist, I've sat down and made a conscious effort to draw a map like Doug draws them, and I can't pull it off.
Oh, yeah. Well, that's why Doug's the man that does what he does.
And before we move on, Harley, we had just briefly mentioned before that the How to Write Adventures That Don't Suck talk that you guys did at Gen Con a while back. The slides are really good, and I'm gonna link those into the show notes. Did you guys ever record that?
I'll have to check with Joseph. It seems like he put together a pamphlet, which he must still have. A pamphlet exists. I don't know that we actually recorded any of the seminars.
Too bad. I would love to have heard that, but oh well.
Yeah. Well, I mean, we have a new crop of up and coming DCC authors from a host of different companies. It would be really cool to hold How to Write Adventures That Don't Suck, but not just have it Goodman Games, but have all the third party folks. It'd be really fun to get together and
like you guys and Dak Altomac and Daniel Bishop.
Exactly. And while we're talking about Daniel Bishop, that man's a genius. He is such an asset having him writing for the game. He's one of those authors that I read and it spurs me on to write a cooler DCC.
I like how he takes a lot of the mechanics and uses them in interesting ways in the adventure, because I've run a fair amount of his stuff. He's always in one of them. He's got, I don't know, just, like, why didn't I think of using that mechanic that way, either as a penalty or damage or something like that? And it's just like, he really makes it, and without being corny about it, like, I'm using this just because I can. It just fits in. I mean, that's just one of the facets of his adventures I like. But yeah, I agree. His stuff's I've always had a good time with his stuff.
Yeah. Anything by Daniel Bishop is worth checking out for sure.
Yeah.
I've got a question that would apply equally to you and Michael. I just want to know, do you guys have cloning facilities in your basement and rows of yourselves being this prolific, or how do you manage this amount of output?
When you guys have Joseph on, he can answer this. I'm the slowest writer in the DCC stable. The only reason I have this many adventures out is because I had about a 2-year head start on everybody else.
Really?
Oh, yeah. No, I'm terrible. Well, what's your process, Joe? How long does it take you to put together an adventure? Like, would you say, so 10,000 word adventure, would you say, like, is it a month?
Are you asking me?
No, Joe, me.
Yeah. Ask somebody who actually
somewhere someone told me, I don't know where I picked up this wisdom, but they said to plan for 1,500 words a week. So that's how I do my schedules. I just, whatever the word count is, I divide it by 1,500, and that's how many weeks it's going to take me.
See, that's good. And my process is, so much of it is, all right, I come up with an idea, and then I'm trying to add layers to the onions, and it goes slow. It goes so slow. Well, hopefully by the time, yeah.
You have a very, I don't know, authorly style, I guess. I've always been a big fan of your modules, before DCC RPG. Just the writing, I like to read your modules kind of like someone would read a novel, I guess.
Was the word you were going for nuanced? Because that's what I would say, very nuanced style.
Sure, yeah.
I'll take it. Well, I
How to pay a
appreciate
compliment and grind interview to complete halt.
Going along that vein, when I was doing some research for the show, I noticed that you had written some fiction for like a Realms of the Dragons anthology.
Yeah.
Have you written any? I am trying to look for a copy of that, but have you written any other fiction?
No. So I was just prior to starting in with Goodman Games, I had sold a short story to Space and Time, which is a magazine somewhere out east. I can't even remember where they're at. But so yes, more fiction exists out there. I confess I haven't. One of the blessings of the Goodman work being so reliable is that I haven't been out from underneath the contract in 8 years now, and so
they haven't let you off the manacles.
Well, no, it's a privilege. I'm so fortunate, but it's always that decision. You sit down. It's like, all right, well, I can squirrel away tonight to do some spec fiction, which is super fun. Or I can earn some money and do this super fun thing for Goodman Games, and it's the paying contracts that win out most nights.
What was your PhD going to be in?
In avoiding getting jobs in the real world. I was an English major, so there was going to be a literature PhD in there somewhere. But then I met this woman while I was working in the Rocky Mountains and ended up not going to the program, and now we're married and expecting a child in October.
Sweet.
Congratulations.
Very nice.
Yeah,
Congrats.
Yeah. No, I got lucky. I've made a lot of bad decisions in my life, but that was the good one.
Get ready for your writing to slow down.
Exactly. Well, which all your listeners should understand. There's going to be a wonderful window of opportunity for any up and coming authors to squeeze into the schedule now, because I'm going to be out of commission for a bit. So now's your window.
You heard it on this show first.
Yeah.
Right, you're like the Rob Schwalb of Goodman Games.
Yeah. Well, there was, and I'm sure you guys felt this growing up. It seemed like there was a point, when the TSR modules, I don't know, not jump the shark is so cliche, but they just, I want to make sure for however long I have a writing career making adventures that I step out gracefully at a time when the adventures are still cool, the ideas are still really inspiring, where a 12-year-old kid is going to pick up an adventure, look at it, and just be dying to run this for his friends. So if at some point the adventures get boring and hackneyed and you guys are like, oh, we've seen this before, let me know and I'll step out.
I don't see that happening anytime soon, sir.
Yeah, definitely not.
As an up-and-coming writer, I think you should quit now.
We're gonna make you fight for it first.
Hey, now that I think about it, did you know the kid was coming when you were in North Texas? And is that why you were so gracious in listening to my pitch?
Oh, no. Yes,
hey, we
yes,
need some guys. I got to take a couple of months off. Come on in.
There's a piece of that. There's an awareness that, well, but also there's a lot of wonderful authors that are coming up and are excited about DCC RPG, and I'm not the guy with all the cool ideas. There are better writers out there and better designers. Well, definitely better designers. And it's always a question of when you really want the line to succeed, it's like, oh man, I want Job's next work to just kick my ass, so that I want him to replace me. I want this stuff to be so awesome that we're going to see another 50 DCCs by Job. Like, that's what you're always hoping for when you're in love with a line and love with a game, because we're gamers first. I want awesome adventures just as much as anybody else. So it's wonderful when I get to see my name in print, but it's even better when I get to see really cool ideas.
Well, Harley, I have to.
We live in another. Yeah. Sorry, go for it.
I have to thank you too, because you kind of introduced me to Joseph Goodman after we met at Gen Con that time, and you also kind of prodded me on to go forward with some ideas I had, and that they worked out. So
Yeah, no, absolutely. It's my privilege. Thanks
for the coaching.
No, you have to have native talent. There's no amount of me, talking somebody up to Joseph that's gonna make a bad adventure, sell. It's always up to the author.
All right. Well, you're awesome. Stop being so humble.
Yeah.
Okay. Well, are there any projects that you can talk about that you're working on or coming out really soon?
Oh, yeah.
Let me ask that even more pointedly. I understand there's a secret project in the works that you guys are going to meet and talk about at Gen Con.
I think it's been misconstrued. What we're having is a planning meeting in which all the inner circle of DCC folks are going to get together with Joseph. We're all going to bring our ideas, and it's the old spaghetti metaphor. We're going to throw our ideas up against the wall and see which ones stick and which ones are fun, and try to get a sense of what we want to pull off, this next year in DCC RPG. So
a summit meeting kind of deal.
Exactly. And so if your listeners feel strongly about, my God, we've had enough, we need a DCC set of dice or something, please post it to G+, post it to the Goodman forums, on your guys' forums, just anywhere, and feed more ideas into the hopper so that when we look at, what we want to pull off, we all have our pet projects. I would love to do a Poonjar set or something, but at the same time, we're really now's the time, when we're sitting in a circle together, making assignments, trying to figure out what we can pull off. Now's the time to get really cool ideas up in the mix.
Sweet.
So anyhow, yeah. So not
how about you personally?
Projects. Okay, so for me personally, let's see. We just finished up. I just turned in Black Mans to Joseph, and now I'm working on Peril on the Purple Planet, which is my stab at kind of a sandals and blasters adventure. So I'm really excited. It's a lot of fun to write right now, which is it's in that cool stage of when you're imagining it. It's like, this is so much fun. I want to do this and this and this and this and this, and we're gonna we'll make it a sandboxy hex crawl, and we'll do this, and we'll take the lessons I learned from Doom of Herat, and we'll add that to a bigger setting. And so yeah, that's what I'm in the throes of right now every night.
I have a question about that too. How early on in your writing process do you start playtesting stuff? Do you just go out there and start playtesting with kind of half-baked stuff?
Oh, absolutely. I feel so bad. You'll if you talk to some of my playtesters, people will be credited. I bet you could talk to some of the people that are credited as playtesters, and they would not be able to tell you, unless they remember the title. You rip off the cover, they won't be able to tell you what adventure they played, just because so much is in flux. And part of that's a function of me being a judge. If there's something cool happening, or I saw a really cool illustration that night, I want to throw it into the game. But that's what I was talking earlier about. Like this onion where I'm adding on layers and skeins. Like for me, writing is a process of accumulation. Because I'm a terrible plotter, I can't outline to save my life. And so I'll start with a simple idea, which, hopefully has some resonance, and add, hopefully nuanced things on top of it that in turn makes it a unique one.
Well, because here at Spellburn, we just don't have guests on to interview them, we also put them to work and get free ideas out of them. Let's move this over to Dungeon Denizens.
Go on, boss, chop his head off. Right, silly little Peter. Jesus Christ!
My armor is like tenfold shields. My teeth are like swords. My claws spears.
Dungeon Denizens.
Okay, Job, you came up with the show notes for this. You want to explain what we're going to do tonight? What tortures we're going to subject Harley to?
Sure. Okay, so since we have, a writer of 40 some odd adventures for Goodman Games, I thought we would just kind of workshop an adventure idea real quick in a few minutes. Basically, what I've done is I've got my Tome of Adventure Design by Matthew Finch, and I'm just going to go to the location table. I'm gonna roll on there, and it's gonna give us a name, and then we're just gonna, see what Harley comes up with, and us together, kind of an idea for an adventure that's very DCC, inspired.
We'll cheer you on, Harley.
I appreciate that. Yeah, I told you guys earlier I'm the slowest rider in the DCC stable. So.
Well, there's 4 of us here, and we're not going to write the next great novel. We're just going to show listeners how easy it is to come up with a good adventure seed.
Awesome. Have at it.
Okay, so here's our constraints. So I'm going to roll a few percentiles here. All right.
I mean,
oh my God,
Shakespeare said there are only 7 basic plots. We'll just grab one of those.
I rolled a 100. Wooden.
Oh, that's it. That's the start.
Wooden Shrine of the. Still rolling here, guys.
Oh, okay.
Shrine of the. Okay, a 7.
I was all ready to go with a wooden steampunk dragon.
Ooh.
Wooden Shrine of the Blood. There we go.
The Trojan dragon. Oh, sorry, I'm off on my own frequency.
One more. And 47, we have Wooden Shrine of the Blood Father. You're on, Harley.
Awesome. Matt Finch, wherever you are, know that I owe you one. All right.
One what?
I'm not sure yet. I'm going to buy him a beer, then beat him over the head with it. All right, Wooden Shrine of the Blood Father. Wooden Shrine. So where do we want to start? Do we want to start with Bloodfather?
I don't know.
Where would you start?
I think, okay, yeah. So, I don't know if you guys remember the Choose Your Own Adventures books TSR did.
Oh, sure.
Yeah, the old Endless Quest books.
Right?
Yeah.
But remember there was the oh gosh, Dungeons of, I can't remember any, but anyways, there's the one cover with a water weird leaping out of the pool, right? What was it? Anyways, we don't need to remember that.
Dungeons of Dread.
Thank you. Oh, brilliant. All right. Okay. So we're going to start in the center of our dungeon, or the apex encounter, and then there's we have this pool which actually contains this murky black. This is the sanguine blood of the father. Father of what we don't know. But okay, so there's this pool filled with this Icarus black blood in the center of our shrine, which we're gonna get to animate and turn into it comes out like a water weird and does weird stuff to the PCs. So what it does on a they finally made it to the center of this shrine, and this ooze launches itself up out of its pool there, and its attack is it attempts to actually push itself into the PC's mouth, by either ears, eyes, nose, whatever orifice it can find. It attempts to force the blood of the father into the PC.
As they said in Mallrats, in an uncomfortable place.
Right, exactly. Which then requires a fortitude save. But what does our PC become once he's been injected with the blood of the father? Now we can let's see. It's blood, vampires, and that's kind of boring, but this could be the source of all vampires, but
I was thinking that the player characters would be led to this quest, that they're looking for this pool because it does something like in that one module where the MacGuffin is find this magic pool of water and it will take away your patron taint. It will cure your corruption. Ooh. So that's their whole goal. But when they get there, it turns out to be this creature you've described that won't do what they were led to believe until it's been killed. And of course, it leaps straight into one of their friends' bodies. How's that?
I like it. Oh. Okay, so and then it attempts to exit via all the pores in their skin. Okay, so we have a shrine. Well, it's the wood shrine, right?
Yes, the wooden shrine of the Blood Father.
What do you think, Jeff? What does wooden shrine pull up for you?
It makes me think like druid forest type stuff.
Brilliant. Okay, keep going.
just some twisted, malevolent druid. Obviously with an evil blood taint of some sort, but the whole Bloodfather Wooden Shrine makes me think some evil mutated druid type thing.
A fallen druid who killed an ent and built it into a shrine for his own evil purposes.
Or have our good druids like entombed this thing in an effort to isolate it, but then that cult of druids died off 500 years ago, and now the what they had imprisoned so long ago is able to get out.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah. I got. Okay. So the blood comes over you, and you don't have to fight. Whatever. It removes corruption. That I think we threw that out there. Maybe the corruption is collected by this the hidden god, and it's like,
oh my gosh,
it's fueled by other people's corruption, so that you go there and release it siphons off your corruption, and then just happens to be the time when it has enough corrupt power to come and start menacing the entire countryside.
Well, and what if it so great, it sucks away all the corruption from our wizard and our elf, but if those corruptive powers then empower the thing itself, so like I don't know, I have the corruption of a third eye, okay fine, my third eye's gone because I've been attacked by this thing, but that also now so there you go. If it's a major corruption, it gives the Bloodfather, like an extra 10 hit points and +1 to will saves and that sort of thing, increases its armor class. So the more corruptions it takes from you, the more dangerous and deadly this monster becomes.
That's great. I mean, you take the stat block for something like a gelatinous cube and then just roll for a dozen corruptions that this thing has, and little powers and side effects.
Okay, but this sounds like a little bit like the end game. So I think we need some kind of mooks or something in mass that's in the temple, a reason for it to be there, something like that.
Right. And potentially on a wooden theme, or at least a druidic theme, like Jeff was saying. If you were a druid and you're a cult of druids and you're attempting to lock something away for time immemorial, you can't destroy it. You're not powerful enough to destroy it, but you're powerful enough to imprison it. So you want to keep all outside things away from it. What are the guardians of the wooden shrine that you can use to defend it against outsiders?
Oh, dryads, brownies, except the Dungeon Crawl Classics weird version of those things.
There's also the potential for if it's underground, at least a portion of it, you have roots everywhere that are bursting through walls, wrapping up players, Evil Dead style. So an ent, is towering above this dungeon. You walk through the roots beneath, the ent to get into the actual dungeon. Well, surprise, it has roots all down and around, this burrow that you're entering.
Oh, that would be cool. Like actual parts of the architecture are just, roots.
Exactly. And so there's nowhere in this dungeon or this shrine, this underground shrine, set in the roots of this enormous, mighty tree, this towering oak. There's nowhere you can go in there that it doesn't know where you're at, which could be a little obnoxious, but it allows the judge. So as judges, we have this omniscience. Well, now the dungeon actually has a justified omniscience for where the PCs are at. So the dungeon is actively reacting to the PCs, and so it's closing doors, it's dropping wooden portcullis, it's opening passageways beneath the PCs, splitting the party, and it's able to do this because the dungeon is all built around the roots of this enormous animated tree.
That sounds like a good time to ask the judge if he wants a soda. Can I get you a soda?
All right, yeah. So there's this. What was it in Greyhawk? Was it the Rowan Woods? I'm sure I'm mispronouncing that, but like Gary's sequoias. So you have this towering 300-foot tree, which is now diseased because it's been sitting on top of the father blood pool for since time immemorial, and so you have this this enormous tree that the leaves are falling off. It never seems to grow in the spring, and it's that old and diseased because of because of the service it's been doing, for the druids to lock this thing away. And then you walk beneath the roots into this almost warren of burrows beneath the thing, and there's ancient, forgotten, cobwebbed druidic runes everywhere. We probably need a stone where they would have sacrificed the blood of the unworthy in an effort to keep the father blood bound within these roots.
I love that. I love the idea that the players are led to, okay, yeah, just go to this druid temple. It's famous, like the Oracle of Delphi. They'll cure all your corruptions, and then as you get there, things are not right.
Oh, and their whole way there, they're encountering the ravens are showing up, craw, 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 attempting to dissuade them. All the animals in the woods are trying to turn our players away until they pass a certain mark, at which point they're within the periphery of the tree and its roots, and nothing living, natural at least, crosses over that border. And so the white stag that has been attempting to communicate with the warrior for the last week, the ravens that have been cawing, and the owl that's been hooting at the wizard all night long,
crickets and the tree frogs.
Exactly. It all stops and is suddenly silence as they proceed towards the wooden shrine.
And then they're intercepted by four-legged orc centaurs with earth-corrupting magic.
That's right, the centaurs.
So kids and would-be judges, that's just how easy it can be in Dungeon Crawl Classics role-playing game. You just call Harley Stroh up at home, late at night, and just like that, you've got an adventure hook.
We're gonna put Harley's Skype ID in the show notes.
No. Well, Harley, it's been fantastic having you on the show. Thank you so much for coming tonight.
Oh, thank you guys so much for having me. It's been a real
definitely. Thanks, Harley. It's been fun.
Yeah, thank you so much.
Yeah, we started the show to have this interview happen, so thank you.
I appreciate it.
I try to save all the fanboy stuff for after off air, but a little bit of it seeps in.
Oh, the privilege is all mine, and I mean, I'm a gamer like anybody else. I've been very fortunate, but it's so much fun to hook up with other gamers who are just as passionate about it and chat about. That's why I'm looking really forward to Gen Con and getting to meet all these people. The DCC RPG has blown up so much in the last year and a half. It'll be neat to meet all the fans that are actually playing the game now. So I look forward to it.
Well, I think that's going to do it for us tonight. Thanks for listening. This is Judge Jim saying goodnight, and don't split the party unless the party's already been split.
Goodbye, everybody.
Good night, everybody.
Harley, you want to say goodbye?
Good night. Thanks for listening.
The Spellburn Podcast is a member of WGPRN and is produced in association with...
This podcast is a member of WildGamesProductions.com and D20Radio.com.
Does that mean that you're just how we know the Earth to be banana sheep?
This new learning amazes me, Sir Bedivere. Explain again how sheep's bladders may be employed to prevent earthquakes.
Oh, certainly, sir. Look, my liege. Camelot. Camelot. Camelot.
It's only a podcast. Shh.
Release the princess or prepare for wizardly combat.
I want to show you a trick Mother showed me when you weren't around.
Welcome to Spellburn, a podcast covering the Dungeon Crawl Classics role-playing game and old-school adventuring. It's time to party like it's 1974.
I don't have to go through my recorder won't work. I'll be right back.
Jim said he wanted us to show you how to do a real show.
I did not say any such thing.
This week on Spellburn, we invited a bona fide Dungeon Crawl Classics neophyte to the show to share his reviews, rants, and reservations about our favorite system. You know we love this game. We're doing a podcast about it. But what about everybody's favorite Grumpy Grognard from two of our sister podcasts, Save or Die and Thaco's Hammer? With me tonight are my two dungeon crawling co-hosts, Judge Jope.
Hey, everybody.
Judge Jeffrey.
Hey, everyone.
And by special arrangement with Wild Games Productions and Mrs. Hallstrom, we've got glamorous Glenn Hallstrom.
Yeah, DM Glenn. You know, you're sounding a lot like Mike. only faster.
Sorry.
Hi, everybody.
Sorry if I got a little too WWF there on you.
That's all right. That's all right. Everybody needs a little WWF in their show.
Well, welcome to the show, sir. You want to tell our listeners who don't listen to those other two podcasts a little about yourself?
Why? They're not listening to my podcast. Anyway, no, I was just...
Like gaming background.
Yeah, well, I've been only doing it since 81. That's all, off and on. I started with AD&D First Edition, and I sort of had to work backwards to basic and all this. And I spent a 12-year hiatus playing Champions. So, and little Warhammer Fantasy Roleplay. But I came back to it when I started doing the podcast, and it's like, hey, I'm coming home. I mean, I went up to 3.5 and hit a wall when 4 came out. And I went back. I hit a wall and went backwards.
We're not prejudiced on this podcast. We try not to even sneer any when we say Pathfinder.
Oh, boy. You're like Brian. It's like, we do not edition bash on this show. Do you have to say that every show? Yeah, but that's very commendable. That's good. That's good.
Okay, well, everybody join me, and let's take it to the tavern.
And the first rule of bartending is this. GBTB. Go beyond the book. Go beyond the book.
What do you have? Heineken. F that.
Tavern Talk. So what did we all do in gaming this week? Who wants to go first?
I can go. Oh, Joe?
Perhaps we should roll a D4.
I was waiting for the crickets.
We edit those in later.
Oh, okay.
Job, go for it.
Not too much. So this week I'm just getting ready for Gen Con and for Dragonflight 34. That's this weekend. So got kind of a double header going on. And then I get a week off, and then I'm going to PAX and running some more DCC games there. So I got a pretty busy month. I've also got been working on my Into the Demon Idol module. And basically I've expanded my one-page dungeon entry into like a fanzine booklet type format. So hopefully I'll have it all ready by Gen Con. I'll probably gonna sell them for like $6. I've got because I'm just trying to recoup some of my costs. I got like full bleed glossy covers and artwork from Stephen Pogue and Bradley McDevitt. And
who did the cover? Because the expression on those lizard man faces on the cover is hysterical.
That's Stephen Pogue. I love his stuff. So yeah, he's probably going to do the next cover for me. And you've seen his art all over the DCC RPG book. So.
Ooh, you got one-page dungeons? Me like one-page dungeons.
Yeah, I had one of the finalists. I got not finalists. I guess winners. I don't know. I got best homage this year.
Right on.
Did you want to give Glenn the premise of the Fallen Idol?
Oh, sure. That one. Yes.
Yeah,
I got it. I printed it. It's in my DM book.
Oh, nice. All right. I've got a fan.
Very well done, sir. Very well done.
Oh, thanks. Yeah, I'm actually expanded it out. I made a system neutral mini module out of it. It's going to be about 12 to 14 pages. And what I did is actually Jeffrey helped me out a little bit. I made stat blocks for Dungeon Crawl Classics, Labyrinth Lord, and Swords and Wizardry.
Uh-huh.
And it's going to be kind of like a bookmark. So then you just pull that out, and whatever system you're running, you just get the stats off the bookmark.
Nice.
Sounds kind of ambitious, sir.
Yeah.
It's those little things that just make the product.
Well, some people have minds like computers that can just change systems like that. My brain doesn't work that way.
Yeah, me either. I need little helpers. But as long as my stuff shows up from the printers on time, which now it's scheduled for Tuesday and I leave Wednesday, then it should work out.
Oh, I've been there.
Yeah, you know my pain, Jim.
How about you, Jeffrey?
Let's see. I've mainly continued with the online DCC RPG group. They had, at some point in a previous adventure, stolen a magic weapon out of a temple. They left some of the priestesses alive. They were not happy with that and had placed bounties on their heads. So that's been haunting them for several sessions now. They've pretty much gotten to the point where they're afraid to move through the city openly. So they've decided the fastest way to take care of that problem is to get rid of the people that placed the bounty on them. So they've worked on breaking back into the temple to eliminate that threat. So let's see, earlier this week when we played, they succeeded in getting back into the temple. There was one sort of cool moment. One of the halflings in the party tried to sneak up, attacked. He got knocked unconscious, knocked to 0. And the cleric that came up, and I allowed him to spell burn to try to make sure he got his heal off. And he rolled and came into his disapproval range and then asked if he could spend a luck to get out of the disapproval. And I was like, you can do that, but you're going to roll twice on the spell burn table. And he went for it. And one was just slicing his cheeks to draw some blood. And the other was he was supposed to brand himself with, like the holy symbol or something like that. And he branded the halfling that was unconscious instead of himself. But it was a pretty fun... but it went over pretty well. The halfling was a little miffed about it, but...
Somebody saw Inglourious Bastards, didn't they?
Yeah, something like that. So it was a pretty fun session. I think the group's having a good time. Next week will probably bring us to the culmination of seeing how that turns out, if they can eliminate these people that put the bounty on their head. So it was fun. It was a good time.
Very nice. Are your players listening to the podcast?
Yes, most of them listen to it. In fact, I think all of them do.
Oh, hey, players.
Hey, put that tone in there, Jim. You put in there to make the players forget what he said.
Oh, this is not the podcast you're looking for. I don't know.
Exactly.
Yeah.
So, Glenn, I know at least one thing you did in gaming this past week.
Well, true. Otherwise, I wouldn't be here. But hey, no, you go ahead, Jim. No.
Oh, well, we both play in the same online basic D&D game.
That's right. We play in the basic on that Shannon does.
You guys are kind of like Mike and Liz.
Oh God, I don't want to know who's Liz. I really don't. By the way, I don't know when this is coming out, but Mike, Liz, happy 20th anniversary.
Oh yeah, those guys.
Yeah, today. Let's see what I do. I am reaping the rewards of doing all the artwork in my DM Matt, my DM, also known as Odinist on Dragon's Foot. He put out a module for one of the dungeons he ran us through, the Mines of Valhum, and I did all the artwork for it. So, and he's selling that on DriveThruRPG and RPG Now, plug. And he's sold a whole 12 copies. Wow. You too can make tens of dollars in the lucrative field of game design.
If you get into this business to get rich, you're in the wrong business. But he'll have sold 13 copies within about 10 minutes of us going off the air. How's that?
Oh, cool! It is a good dungeon. We ran through it, and we this guy. To me, he writes insane traps. Not insane, but insane good traps. And there's this one trap we passed because we just did this one thing. And there was this whole thing about you put the water in here, this triggers that. Don't put the water in this. And we just cut through it. And it's then I went back to the module and read the trap. I'm going, oh my God. We were so close to death, I didn't even know it.
Yeah, I love the clever traps. That's always something that's just a little different, a little bit of thinking to it. Those are always fun.
That's our basic RC game that I play every other Saturday. Coming up, we've killed the dragon, we've killed the big bad, the big red dragon already. That's the dragon who torched Thunder Rift. Oh boy! And so now we got to confront the big bad behind him, and then finally the campaign's over, and we're going to start up a new one using Labyrinth Lore this time, which is fine by me because it's all basic to me. He's also thinking of putting out Mines of Haldhum in a Labyrinth Lord, converting it to Labyrinth Lord, and I don't see why he needs to, because all the stats are the same, but, you know, that's his choice. Let's see, what else? I have not been able to play anything with my grandson. You guys have forcibly drugged me away from Tunnels and Trolls to look at this, so that's about me. That's me right there.
Oh, dude. Well, I'll be getting that, and if the traps and the module are good, that'll just be gravy because I'll be getting it for the art.
Oh, thank you. Oh, thank you. Also, what was I going to say? I have no idea.
You were gonna throw it back to me and go, "What'd you do in gaming, Jim?"
Who? Oh, what the hell did you do in gaming, Jim?
Yeah, I forgot which podcast we were on there for a second.
Oh man, the reason I have these "What do you do in gaming" things, and I started a tradition of this, is because whatever I did the last week in gaming, it takes me 3 podcasts to remember everything. Whoa. So one gets a little, the other one gets a little more, the other one gets a little more.
Well, and it's like that cartoon that was going around Facebook when, you know, people in your life are bored to tears of your character stories, so you just start a podcast and people have to listen.
That's true. Oh, one more thing I did. If you go on, was it frugalgm.com, which is a blog, the Frugal GM, and he came up with this neat way of making D&D type tokens with washers, and I'm using old magic cards. If you don't want to do miniatures, and I got a round punch. You glue them out. I went to Vintage Stock, and they had this big tub. It said 10 cents a piece, $5.95 for 100, $7.95 for 200. So I spent like an hour and a half going through cards looking for stuff to make tokens.
Is that where you use like the fender washers to put glue them on? You know, I did that for my Kingmaker game, and that was pretty awesome. It worked out really well. It was,
and it's like magic cards. Duh, yeah, you know.
Yeah, I didn't think of that idea. I was unfortunately looking around the internet and using the token generator from the Map Tool folks to create them. But magic cards would be awesome.
To me, the hardest thing was the washers. I didn't know washers were that expensive.
You know, I found the same thing. I'm like, what? Only 25 of these for this? I would have expected, I
went to Home Depot. It's like $1.18 for 8, huh?
Yeah. But it worked out well. Easy to transport too. That was nice.
Finally went to Ace Hardware, and I got for like $9. I got a box of 100, so we'll see how far that goes. But yeah, that's a cool thing. Frugalgm.com, folks. Jim, what have you been doing?
In case you just joined us here on Tool Time this evening, the Angry Monks basic D&D game, I'm just having a big time in because we're finally getting in the groove where we're scouring through the dungeon with little first level characters. So that was fun, although we've got a new party rule now. When the cleric goes down, remember, he's the guy with the healing potions in his backpack.
See, I don't have to worry about that in my RC game because we have like 2 clerics and a druid. So
but anyway. It was off week for our DCC campaign, so DM Todd out at Gateway Games ran us through our 3rd session of Expedition to the Barrier Peaks this past Saturday, and he's not taking it easy on us, but we've got a gang together. We're all playing with high-level characters, and we're playing smart, and we're now down to the 4th level, getting ready to go into the 5th, pulling a gravy train of 2 grav sleds, on which is a repair robot and crates of frag grenades, and I'm in my happiest of all fantasy RPG spots. I've got a high-level magic user with a laser rifle.
Oh, boy. No stopping him now.
We got remember me telling you about our high-level fighter played by Caleb who allowed me to polymorph him into a rust monster? Well, he decided he didn't want to be a rust monster anymore, so I got him switched back, and then we stuck him in power armor, and he's still just bulldozing right through every door.
Should have left him as a rust monster and put the power armor on him. A rust monster with power armor, oh my god.
He's only 16, but he's pretty old school. He just, if he can't stick his sword in it or punch it, he's not too interested in it.
Really?
So we were kind of keeping him away from all the good stuff, but the power armor was just for him. He could walk up to stuff and detonate a poison grenade, and he's not breathing the air. What does he care?
That's true. So you had a load of a fun time.
Yeah, we're doing pretty good. Our Todd's not taking it easy on us, but we have yet to suffer a casualty, so I'm waiting for it. I'm a little concerned that the younger players who haven't been through the module before are getting cocky now, because there's doom and destruction waiting on us in the lower decks. I know there is.
By the way, Todd, thanks for the book and the stuff, the extra stuff. He hooked me up with the DCC and the funny dice, along with a few other goodies. Like I got my DCC pen here, and I got my CCC button.
You get a bookmark?
I got a bookmark.
There you go.
It's coming in handy making dungeons for tunnels and trolls.
Oh, yeah, he hit me up, and apparently there are new buttons now with a turquoise background that matches the rulebook.
There's new bookmarks, too, with the new Easily spine on them, I think, too, isn't there?
I didn't get one of those yet, but my Well of the Worm showed up in the mail today. I was very happy about that.
And I heard, is this like a smaller format or something?
Yeah, it's digest size?
It's all digest size, and I'm thumbing through it going, this would be perfect as a PDF on the iPad.
I am all for digest size books. I mean, I wish my whole collection was digest sized.
Is it saddle stitch too, or?
Yeah. Just like a regular module, except it's digest size like the original D&D books. It's so cute.
The softback digest. I keep telling Vince. I said, I want a digest size of the RC. Can I make one of those? He says, yeah, but it'd be like a telephone book.
Although it's a Harley Stroh adventure, Harley wrote it back for 3.5 in the old days, but apparently a guy we love to plug who hasn't been on the show yet, Daniel J. Bishop, did the conversion to DCC RPG. So I was like thumbing through it looking for the seams, and it's seamless. I can't see where the conversion happened.
Right on.
That's cool. That's great.
Right on.
Well, how about we summon some emails?
Poof. I'm not making a comment, just poof.
Oh, get in there. Help us summon them.
Are you up, poof? No. Poof, there they are.
You've got mail. Message for you, sir.
Summon email.
Okay. Well, I mean, we continue to get a lot of mail, and thank you everybody that wrote in.
Yeah, definitely. Thanks for writing. It's nice to see the emails come in. Helps us know people are out there.
They're all fun.
Yeah, actually, one guy that wrote in is going to see you, Job, later.
You don't owe him money.
I saw that. He's gonna play in my game in Dragonflight. So hopefully, if he can get a spot.
Nice.
Well, who wants to get the first email?
I can do that one.
Don't everybody rush.
I got it. Dear Spellburn Lords, how would you adjudicate spells such as Restore Vitality, where a result can be applied to strength, agility, stamina, personality, or intelligence? Does the "or" indicate all the points restored must go to the same stat, or can they be split between any of these 5? Thanks for a great podcast, Dustin, player of Santh, Vixila, and Gonlix, the hero bard of Slither's End and pirate knight of the Grand Charter Company of Mustertown.
Holy crap, his title's longer than his email.
Yeah, and I have to admit, this is one of the players in one of my games. So, in the situation he's talking about, the Restore Vitality came up last night, actually, where he was casting Restore Vitality.
Oh, so you should be recused from answering.
Yeah. I should be, and I'm going to. I'll just make sure you guys know the story. He got a 7 for the points that were going to be restored, and he wanted to know how well I ruled it, and we'll see how you guys would have ruled it. Because essentially we had a wizard that was down, spellburned, and like 3 ability scores. So spreading it could have worked, or should we have ruled it? Which way should we have ruled? So let's see what you guys have to say.
I know what I would have done, but I'm going to let Job go first.
Well, I read through the spell, and everything up to a skill check of 30 says strength, stamina, agility, intelligence, or personality. I think the intent